Hey everybody, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and of course, I present to you the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
Matt!
Yes,
Pleasure
Gary.
meeting you here this evening again on Wednesday.
Yes. It's usually Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a new, should we point out our new graphic in case
yeah,
people don't
I
notice
know.
our new graphic?
That's very cool.
You know what's nice? It's kind of spring-like.
It is. It's
'Cause it's
also,
green.
well, it's green and it's Irish.
Yes.
Kind of Irish hand grenade.
We're Irish.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds you of the Irish, what do you call it?
Irish Spring?
No,
The soap?
no.
Oh.
No, not Irish Spring, the soap. The Irish IRA.
Oh, yes.
Irish Republican Army.
because of the hand grenade.
Right, hand
Yes.
grenade, you got the green.
Yes. Yes.
Irish Spring. Oh, gosh, the Irish. It's almost their time of year, too. Next Tuesday.
Is it?
It
I
is.
never remember. Like, I'm Irish, and yet I'm not Irish in the sense that I don't pay attention to anything Irish.
So you're just not, you're not dedicated to your species.
Pretty much. I'm like a
Right.
self-loathing Irishman.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's what Irish is,
Yes.
right?
But
I mean, that's
me
why
especially.
they have poets and
That's
things
true.
like that. It's
That's
all
true.
depressive, and
Like, I'm not much of a drinker. And
I don't
think,
know why they call it the luck of the Irish anyway.
Yeah, I know. What luck,
What
huh?
luck, right? The potato famine, is that lucky? I don't
Not
think that
lucky
was
at
very
all,
lucky.
especially if you like potatoes.
I mean, they picked the wrong side in World War II by accident. Mm-hmm. They picked Hitler. That wasn't too smart.
Well,
I
you
mean,
know.
that's bad luck right there.
Exactly. And I loathe corned beef and cabbage, so I'm very, very
Well, I
un-Irish.
guess you should admit that on the air, because...
Oh, your pen is green. I just
Yes,
realized, too.
Matt, I
That's-
got the green pen there, Matt.
I wish I could talk like that. I can't do accents. But so your pen matches the new graphic.
It does, except it's a gel pen, and I don't like it. I didn't know it was. I got it at the drugstore because I needed a new pen. And I says, oh, that looks nice, and I got it, and I don't like it. I keep having to, you know how like when a pen doesn't work, you have to kind of scribble a little? I keep having to do that.
Yeah, I know.
So it's very aggravating. So what did I do? What did I do today? Cause I ruffled some feathers over at the jail this morning. They're having for groups to speak at the jail. They have to go through an orientation.
Yeah.
And at the orientation, they teach you not to French kiss the inmates and stuff like that. Important stuff. I mean, it's a lot of
Seems like
things.
common sense.
Seems like common sense, but somebody might not know.
Right.
You know, like you can't hand an inmate a.
Muted
What
my-
are we doing?
Sorry, I just realized I forgot to mute my phone.
Oh, good. You know, you can't even hand a inmate like a pen or something like that, or anything,
Yeah.
because they could get gel on themselves.
Yes.
And so there's no French kissing, no gel. Okay, is the rule. And but anyway, to lead a Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, or like a guy at church has a Christian ministry that he tries to go into jails, or right now Narcotics Anonymous is big, but they can't get into Valley Street because there's no orientation meetings.
Okay.
Because you can't lead a group into the facility without going through the orientation. Not everybody in the group has to have gone through it, but the leader of the group has to have gone through it.
Makes sense.
Okay. It does make sense. The problem is they haven't had an orientation meeting, to the best of my knowledge, in years.
Oh, okay.
So the number of people and or groups that can actually get in there to talk about Alcoholics Anonymous, or our guest is here.
Our guest is here.
And that means I don't have to keep talking.
That's true.
I had something written for, taking up an entire hour just in case.
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I like you anyway.
Oh,
Right,
thank you.
yeah.
Very kind.
I was talking about my meeting at the Valley Street today. And so anyway, a group asked me to intervene in January. So I started calling, and I left messages, and I played phone tag with somebody at the jail for weeks and weeks and weeks. I finally talked to somebody at the jail. I did it as Gary Hopper, not Representative Hopper.
Right.
Because I felt as though you shouldn't have to. That should not be necessary to get a point across.
Right.
And that didn't work out well. So then they told me to talk to, what was it, I forget what his title was. I got it wrote down, but it doesn't matter. So I tried calling him, and then I ended up leaving a message on his voicemail, and he never did call me back. But that day I says, okay, that's insane. You got kids in the streets of Manchester who are dying in the streets, literally, from drug overdoses, and you're not doing whatever you can to provide free Narcotics Anonymous meetings and AA meetings.
Yeah.
And
That really
and all
surprises me.
All these free, it's tax-free. These are people
Right.
that are willing to volunteer their time, and you're not facilitating that. And that, to me, was completely unacceptable. So I called Carol Holden a couple of weeks ago. She's the county commissioner, and one of 3, and they're the ones who actually oversee the jail. And Chris Pappas, I believe, is the lady from Manchester, right? Pappas. I know Pappas, but I've
okay.
forgotten her first name.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
I got brain damage, so I probably shouldn't say that in the air. And she was there at the meeting today, and another lady that another commissioner, and it went really well. I explained the situation. I says, they're really dropping the ball when you're not letting these groups come in.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And they promised me that it will be worked on. And one of
Good.
the commissioners, obviously I'm not going to say who, said that her husband has been sober since 71 in AA. And so I think I have at least one absolute advocate. And one of the advantages of being in the legislature for as many years as I have is I pretty much knew most of the people at the table. And they all think I'm crazy, but I think most of them like me.
That's good.
know?
Yeah.
Which
They may
is-
think you're crazy, but they may think you're crazy like a fox.
No, I
That was a
don't-
TV show. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
In the 80s? Okay, good.
You mean... Okay. Anyway, you mean Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes Day.
No, it's something
No,
different.
that's something different, isn't
Yeah, a
it?
little different.
Did you go to the legislature today?
I was there.
You were there? I did
Yes.
not see you.
I know. I think we crossed paths a couple times, but
Yeah,
I was
because
keeping an eye on you.
Oh, gosh. That's not
Somebody
good.
asked you.
Someone asked you. That's
Somebody
my job.
has to watch me sleep.
Yes.
Right?
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, I know. That is strange.
Yeah.
I feel like she's a stalker now.
Right.
I know.
Probably.
A few times I had to make sure you got back to your seat in time.
I did, though.
You did every
I
time you
missed
did.
the division vote because
But
I
I was keeping an eye on you.
I missed actually I guess a couple roll calls before in early in the morning because I was coming back from the meeting at Hillsborough County.
Yep.
So Sarah Koski, am I pronouncing your last?
You
Is
are.
that Russian or
No, it's Finnish.
Finnish?
But you're probably the first person I've met who's gotten it right on the first try.
Really?
So I'm very impressed. Yeah, people always say Koski.
Really?
This conversation.
Yeah, but
Telling the
I
truth.
can't spell very well or read very well.
Well,
so
it
it's
worked
just
out with my last
accidental.
name, so I appreciate that.
So now you just moved to New Hampshire, right?
Actually, I've been here for about 10 years.
10 years, because you just
So it
moved to
depends.
where then? What did you just
No,
do?
I've been in Ware the whole time.
For 10 years?
Of course, that depends whose definition
How
of
come
just
I-
moved to New Hampshire.
Okay.
I had someone welcome me to the state last month.
Really?
So I've been here for 10 years. They're like, well, welcome to New Hampshire. Hope you're enjoying it.
Because
Better late than never.
yeah.
because so how long you been affiliated with Cornerstone? Just recently?
Just recently, yep. Just at the beginning of February, I started with Cornerstone.
Okay, just February. What is your position with Cornerstone?
I'm the political director of Cornerstone.
Political director.
Yep.
She's the political director.
I know, it's
Now,
a nice
who-
sounding title, isn't
is
it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
but Sarah, you don't understand what a big deal this is tonight. Because now, if I could remember her name, that would be really cool. Remember the lady from Cornerstone? She came on the show, and within like a month, she was off to Washington,
Oh,
D.C.
Ashley.
Ashley.
Ashley
Yeah.
Pratt,
Yeah.
Ashley.
Yeah.
So it was really coming on this show
Right.
that
That
launched
did
her
it.
career.
Right. She got the
So
the
you-
rock paper hand grenades bump.
She did.
Yeah.
Perfect. She
Yeah.
probably showed up on time.
I don't remember.
I
I
don't-
don't think it matters. I think
Okay,
just.
good.
matters.
I
Yeah,
think
it
if you're
really
on the
doesn't
show for
matter.
5 minutes,
That's
you're
it.
you're on your
So
way to
I'm
stardom.
good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
you're good. You
I
probably
didn't
be.
realize that when I agreed to come on the show.
No,
so-
I know. I was just, something I do for young people who
That's
are doing
so
a good
kind of you,
job,
Gary.
and
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So kind of you.
I know. I'm pretty awesome.
But yeah, but you've been a friend of mine for a while, though.
When?
I think this
First, I
fall
thought.
at the convention.
Yeah, the convention is the first time I met you.
That was before I was Cornerstone, so.
Before you were Cornerstone. That's why I thought you were new, because you would kind of got involved in the. She was at the state convention as a delegate, and that's the first time I met you, right?
Yes.
Or did I meet you before that, and I've got brain damage, so I don't remember.
I think that was the first time we officially met.
That's good. I hate that because I'm so freaking bad about that. I am just horrible with names.
He's being humble. The truth is, he meets so many important people. It's hard to
He
keep
just
them all
can't keep
straight.
track of it.
Yeah.
He
That's
just can't keep
actually not it. I just got brain damage, so I forget. But anyway, yeah. So I saw you at that, and that was pretty interesting, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was my first convention.
That was your first convention. How did you get involved in politics, though?
So I've always been interested in politics. My family growing up was very good about being active in politics. And, I have a picture of me like doing my first campaign sign wave when I was in kindergarten. So it was always kind of a part of our family life. And then in high school, I really became more interested in it. I started contacting my state reps.
Where'd you go to high school?
I was homeschooled in high school.
Okay.
So you probably have a letter from me way back then.
Oh, yeah,
but,
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that. But that's when I really started, to kind of taking initiative there. And then from there, it's just kind of moved on. Running for delegate is something that was just a natural step.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now you've lived in Ware for 10 years? Mm-hmm. Wow. And that's just weird that I just did this. I'm just getting to know you, and that's pretty awesome. But it's just.
I'm relatively new to the political scene, so.
Okay. Well, you're doing a fine job.
Well, thank you.
And now that you're going to be going to Washington D.C., I would think probably by the end of the week.
Maybe week and a half. We don't want to. You remember, Gary, with this stuff, you want to under-promise, over-deliver as far as the bump goes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It didn't help Karen Tesserman much.
Oh no, that's true.
Oh, she's such a nice lady. She keeps running for office, and she's so smart, and she's so articulate, and so well informed, and she just doesn't get traction. It's.
Well, this last time though, she had a lot to run up against.
She ran because she was actually doing good because she was basically the only real conservative, and then Bob Smith jumped in the race and kind of took the rug out from under her feet. A little bit, and I'm not sure it really would have mattered. It would have been nice if it was just her or just Bob or just Jim Rubens.
Yeah, Jim Rubens is who I liked.
I know you did, and Jim is a good guy.
I'm not a conservative, which is why I like Jim Rubens.
Yeah, he's one of my liberal friends.
Oh, okay.
I'm an independent. I consider myself centrist, but we always joke that next to Gary, I look like Karl Marx.
Yes.
I should dress up like him sometime.
Like one of the Marx Brothers?
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
could
idea.
get like a big mustache or something.
Marx Brothers, get it? Marx Brothers.
I did, yeah. That's why I was saying the big mustache.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what Karl Marx looked like, actually.
Oh, I don't either, but Groucho had the big mustache.
Okay. Harpo. You could dress up like Harpo Marx.
That requires a hat, doesn't it?
Yes,
I can't wear hats. It's too hot.
He's the one with the curly hair, too.
Oh, okay. I could get a perm.
Yeah, that'd work. Hey, so.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all, really? I mean.
Oh, this is completely different.
Okay.
I crack myself up. I tell jokes, and I laugh harder than anybody else. I crack myself up, what was it, Monday night, I think? It was or it might have been Tuesday, but anyway, it was so nice out. I had to go pick up my grandson to work on his Pinewood Derby, but while I was waiting for him to come home from school, I took a walk with my granddaughter, and we were going across the parking lot, and she wanted to hold my hand, and so I says, honey, I like holding your hand, because she's 3 years old, right?
Yeah.
I like holding your hand because it makes me look like a nice person. Is that true? It really is true. I mean, if you see a guy walking down the street, they pose you wonder if there's nefarious motives or whatever, or might think something. But if that guy is holding the hand of a 3-year-old little girl, he's harmless.
Most likely.
Which brings me to my great idea that I think if you robbed a bank and ran outside about 5 feet away, okay, put the bag of money over your shoulder and then go and grab the hand of your
Little girl's
3-year-old little girl,
Yeah,
you could get away with
You'd
it.
be all set.
You'd be
Yeah.
all set. You could walk. They wouldn't. The cops wouldn't stop you.
I think you're right.
You know.
Let me know how that works for you.
I didn't say I was going to do it. I said it was a great idea. And I told the rock, paper, hand grenades is not responsible for any opinions of the host. So we shouldn't be able to be sued for that if somebody's stupid enough to try
To
it.
try it out.
Right.
Anyway, so how much time we got? Plenty.
We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
What the heck? What did you find interesting today?
Well, the big vote today that I was keeping an eye on was HB 560. It was Griffin's Law, the fetal homicide bill.
Okay.
We were really, really pleased to see that got ought to pass without any amendments.
Yes,
So
there
that-
was an
that was a big
unfriendly
deal for us.
amendment that they tried to pass.
What was
You-
that?
You want to explain it?
Yeah, so basically the floor amendment that was proposed, the way we've been describing it is it would gut the bill. It strengthened criminal charges, but it didn't provide protection under homicide if the mother didn't die and the unborn child did.
Oh, really?
Which is the whole purpose
Okay.
of this legislation, is to close that loophole. That's what the Supreme Court asked us to do in New Hampshire. That's the reason why we're proposing legislation. So the amendment wouldn't provide for
what
that.
was the name of the guy that killed? He killed. What was it? A husband and wife and the baby, or something?
Oh, that's the accident.
No, that was different. That was different. I'm sorry. The one. What is
The
the
court
case?
case?
The court case where the Supreme Court said, "Hey, he."
Yeah, I believe that's Joshua Lammy.
Now, what was the
Is the
situation? I've forgotten because it was like more than an hour ago at the State House.
I don't remember the specific details of that case, but that was sort of what instigated or what revealed this loophole in that originally he was charged with 3 counts of homicide, but then afterwards he appealed to the court that they couldn't charge him in the death of the unborn child. Find out after looking into it, we don't have any legislation to support that, and so he got away with only 2 counts.
Right.
And then in their findings, the court specifically asked the legislation to look into possibly closing this closing that loophole.
Yeah. So
And that's
so
what this-
basically, he had been convicted, appealed it, and they said no. There is no law
Right, there
against
was
killing
Nothing to support that.
support it. So that's why we've been trying to pass that for, I don't know, quite a few years. That's another one of
A
those
while
bills
now,
that
yeah.
goes every year. It
Representative
goes,
Ryder has been, leading the charge on this for quite a while,
yeah.
far longer than I have been, aware of things. But we were really pleased to see that pass today.
Yeah,
He
so
was
that passed
really
the
happy.
House today. Now it's got to go to the Senate. What I couldn't remember is where that gets killed every 2 years. I don't know. I don't know if that gets axed in the Senate or by the governor.
Yeah.
There was a couple of. That's funny because most of the bills, I pay attention to them when they're in the House, but once they've gone out of the House, it's like,
It's a lot to keep track of. That's something that coming into it, the representatives have a lot to go through. It's an incredible amount of work.
I've been surprised
that.
over the course of doing this show with Gary to learn the numbers of just how much legislation
Yeah,
the
that's-
legislature deals
That's
with.
something I
It's
was very
staggering.
surprised.
Yeah.
So it's very I don't blame you. It's very difficult to follow something outside once after crossover. But we're at Cornerstone. We're going to be working really hard to get this on the governor's desk. We would love to see her have to make a decision on this.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I don't actually pay attention that much. So don't give me any credit. Okay.
No.
Oh, what did we do today? House Bill 673, establishing a sales and use tax. And there were 13 people who did not want to get reelected.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of a laughter and noise after that vote.
It was actually pretty funny because you have to not want to get elected to vote for a tax.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just let's see. Speaking of taxes, a tax passed right after that. That was to increase the marriage license fee from $45 to $50, and the $5 extra is supposed to be used for to fight domestic violence.
Yeah.
Okay? The fighting domestic violence, totally okay with that, but they could have taken the 45 and parsed it out to take $5 out of that and put it in domestic violence instead of charging people an extra $5 to get married. because that I did not vote for, but it passed anyway. So a majority of the state legislators voted for a new tax, and it's a tax on marriage.
I'd like to see that go away entirely, personally. But
Marriage?
I'd like to. Well, I have never been married, so perhaps. No, but I'd like to see government out of the marriage business entirely.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a libertarian with that stuff.
Yeah. Hey, today made me wonder. Do you have to have do all libertarians have ponytails, or do all men with ponytails, are they libertarians?
Oh, well, all libertarians clearly don't have ponytails,
Right.
but I do think probably most men with ponytails are libertarians, particularly the ones you see with the ponytail, but they're bald on top, which is a terrible look, but you do see libertarians with that, yes.
So I have something there, right?
I think you're on
I'm
I think
onto
you're onto something. You've got something there.
You probably don't want to comment on that if you're smart.
But
Oh, that wasn't a nice thing to say. Okay. Yeah, the prop. I don't know if you want to comment that, because that's a cornerstone part of their platform is pro-family.
yeah.
But my take on it was that the likelihood that somebody's going to have a problem with domestic violence is less likely within the confines of a marriage, as opposed to most of the domestic violence is with cohabitating couples. And so therefore penalizing people that are getting married seems insane.
So you voted against that.
I voted absolutely against that. It was an increased fee, period.
But I assume those fiscal conservatives who don't like taxes who voted for it, I assume voted for it because some of them probably thought, well, if I vote against this at election time, my opponent's going to run ads claiming that I voted against funding for domestic violence. And
Yeah, because you believe in,
because that's what happens.
That is what happens.
That's what'll happen to you, Gary. Someone will say that about you.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that those two, topics were linked so closely in this legislation, and their emotions were high as people were testifying.
I'm sure.
In support of it, and so it is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, there's we did the marijuana bill later, so there could have been people who were just high. Period.
Well, I'd assume just to get through the day there, a lot of people are high.
Yeah.
It's a long day.
Yeah.
Are you saying that's okay? No.
Nope.
What other family bills did we do?
That was it. They're really, we have a whole bunch coming up tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So particularly pro-life, and I'm not sure how far we got in education before I had to leave.
Education. I left before education.
Yeah, I left before that as well. I don't think we got all the way through education. But there are several education bills, and then tomorrow, the two big votes for that piece of legislation I've been working on are buffer zone repeal. That's going to come up. That's going to be
and we
pretty.
I was sick that day. What did they do in committee?
It was passed. 10-9 ought to pass without amendment. It was very, very close. Yeah, I missed you there.
Yeah.
Judiciary. Luckily, we got a good sub. So it's come.
Oh, they had somebody sit in for me.
Yep.
That doesn't seem probable.
It doesn't. Who could ever replace you, or maybe
who was it?
I can't remember his name. Thankfully, he was on our side because, like I said, it was 10-9. So it's come out of committee with an ought to pass recommendation, very slim.
But it's still a pro-choice, pro-life.
Right.
Well, the governor will veto, right? If it gets that far.
Not necessarily, because that's the buffer zone bill that was basically pertinent to Manchester.
Okay.
Okay, because they wanted a buffer zone around the abortion facility in Manchester, and Massachusetts had a similar bill.
Yep.
And that went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can't. That's against free speech.
Right.
The other thing that Greg Saltz actually pointed this out on Facebook, that as much as Planned Parenthood says they needs these buffer zones because people can't freely walk up and down the street, they don't actually shovel the walkway in front of the Planned Parenthood.
Really?
Yeah.
So if they're really concerned about people being able to freely walk up and down the street, you would think they would have cleaned the sidewalk. It's actually the protesters
That's
who have to
interesting.
clean the
Shoveling.
sidewalk.
Yeah. I've heard that from a few people that 40 Days for Life, they're out there and they actually shoveled the sidewalks
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
But that will be interesting, and we'll definitely be watching that because up to this point, it hasn't been enforced. So we've had it on our books for a year, and yet the governor and the AG are unwilling to enforce it because it's unconstitutional.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So that'll be
So-
interesting because it should pass tomorrow.
Yep.
But it is not a conservative house, so it could be.
Right.
What else did we do? We did something else today. It's establishing a federal health care exchange. That didn't pass. That was good. I don't know why somebody thought that was a smart thing to do. Prohibiting retail sales of you might know this because I don't drink. Not that you're an
You make
not
me,
that
you
you're
make me sound like Matt would know this one. He's
Matt.
probably drunk right now.
I didn't say that out loud. Okay, so let's see, prohibiting the retail sale. Oh no, that's something different. We had a drink that you can. It sounds like it's a stein of beer that you can go around and fill
The
up. What's that?
refillable. Yeah.
Refillable.
Oh, I saw that in the Hippo Press, an article about that.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
I think you you pay up front for a card. I think it's like a debit card, and you go to the machine, and it allows only a certain number of refills. I think depending on what you put on the card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You sure it's the same thing? Because it sounded like it was some sort of
it may not be the
basically
same
a
thing.
cup that you could go get basically beer on tap at like variety stores and stuff.
Oh, okay. This is something different then. Okay.
If
This
I
is
can
something
find
different.
it, because I don't know where the heck it was. Relative to sale of beer. Oh yeah, here you can read that more gooder than me.
Okay, so yeah, HB 554-FN relative to sales of beer in refillable containers. The HRA analysis. Growlers are a popular container for customers to purchase and refill with local craft beer. Customers should be allowed to use them and businesses allowed to refill them. The platform states remove barriers to business formation and encourage small business. So support. Okay, so that passed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I don't see.
I don't know what the heck it is. I thought
don't
maybe
see
you
the
could shed
issue.
some light onto what the heck it was.
I don't actually.
Wow, you're not much of an alky.
I'm not actually. I'm a very light drinker.
Establishing a study committee for the legalization of marijuana, which passed. And to me, that's just dumb. I mean, there have been enough studies. You don't need another study.
No,
you don't
I-
need the government to pay for another study.
I agree, but I'd like to go straight to legalization, which I don't. You don't support that, do you?
No, I don't.
No.
Let's see, 490. Years ago, unbeknownst to me, I co-sponsored a bill.
Unbeknownst to you.
I'm interested to hear that.
I co-sponsored it. This is actually one of the only times I've been actually tempted to take a bribe. So I'm building this up. Yeah, years ago, I think it was Lars Christensen asked me to co-sponsor a bill on fireworks, and I didn't really know what it was. But it is reloadable fireworks, where you can buy the tube and say 5 of these canisters that you drop down the tube and light.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper than buying 5 individual mortars or whatever.
Yeah.
And that passed years ago, and there was a vote today to repeal it.
Really?
And it did not get repealed, which
Oh.
is good.
Yeah. Good.
So anyway, I went into the firework place. It had to be about 3 or 4 years ago, over here in Hooksett, and I went in there and I introduced myself. I says, "Yeah, I was kind of the co-sponsor of that because I had some questions." And she says, "Oh, we were so glad that's an awesome thing. Here, why don't you take some of these?" I said,
Save your
"No,
fireworks."
I can't do that." And I'm with my grandson's dad, and he says, "I can take them." I says, "No, you can't. You can't." It's like there's
That's
like
funny.
very little else people could bribe me with, but free fireworks.
Yeah,
is
that's
one
hard.
of them.
That's hard to say no to.
That's
yeah.
brutal. But yeah, so that failed. That actually I might actually introduce legislation to make firecrackers legal again in New Hampshire
I
because
didn't even know they were illegal.
they're illegal.
Fireworks laws are always weird and
They're
confusing.
wicked stupid.
My mother grew up in Illinois, and I remember her telling me about when, like, her and her family for the 4th of July was like they would go, I think, to Indiana to buy fireworks and bring them back, because in Illinois it was legal to have them and fire them off. It just wasn't legal to buy them there. It's just weird fireworks laws.
I know they're wicked dumb.
Very
Let's see,
arbitrary.
penalties for proposition. Decrim passed 300 to 300 plus.
Good.
What I couldn't remember is where that bill dies every 2 years.
Well, I think Hassan has already said she'll veto it.
Yeah, but we got 300 this time. That's
Yeah.
an easy override if
Good.
it does.
Good. I think
Because
that
to
needs
me,
happen.
as much as I don't want to encourage people to smoke, I think constitutionally the punishment should fit the crime, and a 16-year-old kid with a joint is less of a threat to society than a 16-year-old kid with a case of beer
Absolutely.
easily.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, if the kid gets caught with a beer, I don't know what the actual punishment is, but it's not much. Usually the cops take the beer and drink it at home. I'm guessing. I don't know. Not that ever happened to me a lot. And but what happens in a marijuana case, if the kid gets caught with a joint, he can lose his ability to go to college, to be accepted into all kinds of different things, student loans and everything else for a joint. So the current system, the punishment does not fit the crime, and that's
Right.
why I always support decriminalization. I also don't buy the argument that marijuana is a gateway drug.
Right. Yeah.
It is people who are drunk that do stupid stuff, like other drugs that they ordinarily wouldn't.
Agreed.
But anyway, so that, I don't support legalization, but decriminalization I just think is reasonable. Background. Oh! Another 124 state legislators who don't want to get reelected were weeded out today. There was a bill, House Bill 650, was a bill to require background checks for sales, basically for private sales.
Really?
Yeah. So in other words, I think the requirement would be, if like I advertised it on Facebook or advertised the sale of a gun at a gun show, and somebody was willing to buy it, I would have to go through a background check. The problem with it is that it could be misconstrued to also include me selling you a handgun or selling Sarah a handgun, because right now it is already illegal in the state of New Hampshire to sell a handgun to somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, the rule is you have to know them. Like, I could sell a handgun to you legally right now because I've known you for a while, and I'm pretty convinced you might kill me with it, but probably everybody else is safe.
And you wear a bulletproof vest anyway.
No.
I thought you did.
I should.
I just
You
assumed.
should.
No, yeah.
Okay, well.
But anyway, so basically it was another nanny state bill, and we really don't have a problem in New Hampshire.
Right.
So they wanted to pass more gun laws in a state that has some of the lowest crime in the country.
A solution in search of a problem.
Exactly. So that bill to further restrict your Second Amendment rights went down in 236 to 124. So that's 124 state legislators that, if you combine, I presume some of those are the same 13 that voted for a new tax.
Probably.
So anyway, that was interesting. And soon after that, I think I bailed out. So what do we got for tomorrow?
So tomorrow we have buffer zone, like I mentioned. Probably some of these education bills will come back up. privacy protections, State Board of Education compliance. There's a lot going on in education.
Oh, what do you mean the State Board of Compliance? Because what's the one? Where are we? Let's go election.
Yeah, let's go through education because there are quite a few that I have highlighted.
All right.
And,
Give me a number.
276.
276.
Yeah.
Here, I'll let Matt read the pink
Okay.
sheet.
All right, HB 276.
He does all my reading because I can't see.
That's great.
School districts shall not be required to adopt Common Core. The HRA analysis is this bill clarifies what had been mixed messages to districts and therefore needs to be in statute. The platform says promote local control of education policy. So the HRA recommendation support ought to pass. What's the /A? What's that mean?
Amendment.
Amendment, okay.
Yeah, it ought to pass as amended. So,
Oh,
so
gotcha,
a lot of
okay.
times you get a bill in a committee and there's either a technical problem with it or whatever.
Oh,
And the
okay.
committee amends it. And so then first we'll vote on the amendment, then the bill as amended.
Oh, okay. And that was 12-9 was the vote.
Yeah, that's going to be another floor fight, big one. If it's 12-9, it's kind of probably pretty partisan.
Yeah, a lot of these education bills we'll probably see a lot of a debate on. But of course, we don't want school districts to be required to
Yeah.
have to comply with Common Core.
Well, the funny thing is, we had we talked about it last week. We had a House address to get rid of the what's the lady's name in charge of education in the state? You remember?
Barry?
Barry. We had
Yeah.
an address to get rid of her because of her overstepping her bounds. Because she wrote that letter I posted on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
basically said, I don't care what you think. I'm the director of education, and you have to take the test. And then we had, I showed it, we talked about it on the air last week. Then we had her, the chairman of education. I think, no, I don't think she's the chair. Never mind. The majority report on education said that, Ms. Berry is, believes in local control and all this other stuff. And I said, no, not really.
Yeah, no, and parents need to be concerned about what's happening because it's almost shocking when you read her letters and read what she really believes. We need to be aware of this, and parents need to have the right to opt out, even if school districts, aren't opting out of these things. So there are definitely some big fights coming up and some big fights that have been had.
Because I was actually just talking to Glenn R.J. Olet before the show, and he's been, I think he said he's starting some lawsuits against school districts. I think Nashua and Manchester are the ones he mentioned, because they're forcing kids to take stuff.
Yeah.
And so far,
even though parents are allowed to opt out, school districts are trying to say that they can't opt their children out of these tests and smarter balance assessments as mandated by Common Core. So it's a big deal.
Wasn't that part of the letter, or maybe it was a different letter that said tell parents even though parents can legally opt out, tell them they can't? In other words, basically lie to them and say they have no right to when they do legally?
The one I read didn't say to lie to them. It said
Okay.
basically
I'm not familiar with
that
that.
she had the authority under the statute, which I looked at the statute, and technically I think she's correct. The way the statute is written right now, she does have the authority to demand people take it.
Oh, okay. I see.
So she wasn't, as far as I could tell, lying
Oh,
or
okay.
misleading.
Okay.
She was just asserting authority that she shouldn't,
Gotcha. Okay.
as far as I'm concerned. But obviously she thinks differently than that. What else we got?
Another one we're keeping track on is 332. And this is Victoria Sullivan. She's a freshman rep. She came in. She sponsored this because her son was exposed to some inappropriate sexual material in his classroom that she had no previous warning of and was really very upsetting. He was only 8 years old. And she realized that as a parent, she didn't have any means to preview this, at least to have a prior discussion with her son. And it actually took a while.
How old
for
was
her
the
back-
kid?
The kid, it was only 8 years old.
He's
Yeah.
8 years old, and they're showing him stuff that is
Yeah,
less than wholesome.
less than wholesome. And even if,
I mean, if they wanted that, they could just watch the show.
That's true.
right?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's true. But we're not playing this in schools.
Sorry, Mitch.
Yes.
So
That's
that's
a
something
good
we'll be
warning.
watching
Don't
on.
play this in school.
Do not play this in schools. But that will be a big one because parents need to know. And so what this legislation will provide is parents need to be able to review material prior to it being taught in schools. And so we're not suggesting that, it can't be taught, but just that parents have the opportunity to preview, opt their children out if they feel it's necessary, but at least to have that prior discussion, especially at this young age.
I know we voted in, gosh, it's got to be a half a dozen years ago. Bill, because of the same type of thing, that parents had the right to opt out. But that's not good enough.
Well, they still have the right to opt out, but she wasn't notified.
Oh,
So this
okay.
requires
Okay.
notification. So even though parents could take their children out, she had no idea this was coming up in her son's class.
Okay.
And then, of course, at children at that age, they're upset by it and don't necessarily come to their parents right away. So it took a while
Well, it's
for
got to be
his
pretty.
classmates.
It would be embarrassing for a little boy to come home and talk
Absolutely.
to mom about it.
Absolutely.
right.
So, there's a couple situations where parents had no idea, until several days later. So this would require parents to be notified prior.
Yeah, because really all you need to tell little boys when they're 8 years old is women are evil, stay away from them. That's what I tell my grandkids.
Probably.
Except your little sister. She's wicked cute.
Be nice to little sisters.
Exactly.
Be nice to little sisters.
You have to tell them this stuff.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Yeah. Another parental rights one, 303. Again, this is relative to statewide assessments and standards that parental consent is required for psychological surveys to students.
Seems common sense to me.
Seems common sense. Unfortunately, we need to be legislating this stuff so that parents have the right and the ability to be notified first. and to
Wasn't
give
there
consent.
some really weird questions in what did I saw somebody came to me with a list of questions that were maybe it was a psych eval.
Yeah, I can't remember
But
the
there was
the
some
House bill,
really
but there was
strange leading questions like, do your parents plan to vote in the next, or when you get older, are you going to vote in the election? And it was like, wow.
Yeah, surveys in schools are a big problem, and the House just passed some legislation last week that provides parents the opportunity to opt their children out of surveys. They have to make the questions available. This was a big issue in the Bedford school districts.
Right.
Unfortunately, there was an amendment to that bill that required an opt-out instead of an opt-in, and
Right.
so we were hoping to fight that. But again, we're pleased with that because
One step at a time.
one step at a time, and parents need to know. Parents
Yeah, well,
need to know. We need to know why schools are collecting this information, what they're doing with it, how it's being stored, and whether or not you want your children to be subjected to that kind of questioning.
Because I think people might not understand the bigger picture on a lot of this stuff. Is that Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation is behind a lot of this, behind a lot of the Common Core and things like that. Now, picture a large industry that had access to knowing everything you tested, all your tests, and all your psychological evaluations from grade, elementary school to high school and beyond. They know
Right.
they know a lot about you.
It's a good marketing tool.
It is an awesome marketing tool, if not a means by which to manipulate and to pigeonhole you into what you should or shouldn't be doing. And
Right.
there's all kinds of nefarious things that can be done with this kind of information.
Yeah.
Because in spite of what they say, they do keep track of who took the test.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I just noticed HB 603 is coming up for a vote, and that's relative to assessments, questionnaires, and surveys as well. So not specifically psychological surveys, but that's probably the bill that you're referring to.
Okay. Yeah, so we get a lot of garbage tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow
This is
is
gonna be
going to be another
That's gonna be a 2-coffee day.
But they don't let you have coffee in there, right?
Not in there, but you can go downstairs. That's where I had to post about the show tonight. That's what I did. I did that downstairs in the coffee room.
I've actually wondered how you do that because you don't have a smartphone.
No, I don't have a. I'm not smart enough for a smartphone.
Oh, okay.
You have to take an IQ test to get one of those.
That's what that thing was.
Yeah.
Oh, they were asking me
I've
about
never-
shapes and stuff.
No, yeah, I never passed that.
So do you ever go down there and like pound coffee like really fast so you can get back up, or how does that work? You can't really pound. I'm not much of a coffee drinker, so I don't know.
No, not really pound it, but actually the thing is, I think if I drink too much, I start getting tired.
Yeah,
which is really
you
weird.
Crash. That's not that weird.
Is that weird?
I know I'm not a coffee drinker either. So.
I don't like you guys. Okay. Okay, we're gonna have the constitutional amendment CACR 10, which we do every 2 years, to try to have the governor get elected every 4 years instead of every 2 years, starting in 2018.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I voted down. I mean,
Yeah.
on one hand, voting for it's not horrible, because if it made it to the voters, let the voters decide. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not. Well, standard rule of thumb to me should be that if it's a CACR, as long as it's not profoundly detrimental, you probably should vote for it. Because you're fundamentally giving that right to decide to the people.
Makes sense.
Now, if it's something that is so intricate and is destructive to society, then you should kill it before it has a chance to breathe. But that's not one of them. I might vote for that CACR. I don't agree with it. Let them run every 2 years.
It's just us in Vermont, right?
It's good for the economy.
2-year terms.
It's about the economy, right? How much do they spend? How much did governors spend to get elected? $1 million?
Yeah, I
It
don't
goes
know.
right into the economy. That's
True.
good. That's good.
That's a really good
interesting
point. That is a good point.
And you got outside interest at paying for it.
That's a really
Right.
good point. Yeah.
I think we should have elections every week.
Ooh, that would be exciting. Like for
Yeah.
a political junkie like me, I would love it.
Oh, yeah.
I'd never sleep. I'd have
I'd
to start
never
drinking
know if
coffee.
I was going
You'd
to
have
have
to
my
drink
show
coffee.
next week, because I don't know. I didn't get elected this week, Matt.
All right, yeah. Tune in next week. Find out if Gary's back in office. It'd be a cliffhanger every week.
Yeah,
It'd
it'd
be
be
great.
awesome. Oh, put me in a hose.
I'm almost out of water.
What do you think about... I got to be careful asking you questions, because I want to get you in trouble. But what you think about, what did you think about Hillary Clinton's separate email?
None of
But
this surprises me. I
No.
don't trust her, and I can't say I'm surprised by any of it.
No, I'm not surprised. And transparency is important. That's something that, of course, I can agree on. And
Yeah.
she doesn't have a track record to
I just
support
love
that.
I love the idea that it was simpler. Because her statements were weird. Usually she's a pretty articulate lady.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall her being so stuttering or tripping over her words as much as she did the other day.
But she's
So
not
I
as
heard-
slick as her husband.
No, but I heard her on the radio, and you could tell she was like reading,
Oh yeah,
Not- not stating something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would be like me if I was reading the stuff that you have to read. But the idea that I wanted it to be simpler. So I wanted it to be simpler. So I had somebody create a entire server and then had all my emails run through that server. That is not simple.
No.
And it's extremely expensive, I would presume, because you have to have a separate hard drive somewhere hooked up to the internet. It poses all kinds of security problems, because your security has to be equal to or better than the government's security, because it has to.
Right, yeah.
I would think legally, it would. I guess legally she doesn't care, but I mean, if you're sending an email to somebody saying Benjamin Netanyahu is a big ugly jerk, that's got to be secure so it doesn't get out to Benjamin Netanyahu, who probably already knows that. That's probably not a good example, but that email really has to be profoundly secure.
Right. Yeah.
And yet somehow it was simpler for her to set up.
Yeah.
That
It's
is
a mess.
that was as good as that one she said about do you remember the one where she said, I think she said she was getting out of the plane in Sarajevo and the bullets were flying.
Oh, I remember
over
that.
her
Yeah, it was
head.
during the 2008 campaign.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You were.
She had her own Brian Williams moment before there was a
I was
Brian
gonna say that
Williams
sounds
moment.
like a familiar storyline.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah. She said she got out of the plane
There were
and she was,
snipers, and they were in all this danger.
yeah,
and
the
it
gosh.
bullets were zinging by.
turned out it
and
never happened.
It never happened. There was a reporter that was there at the time. Says, no, there was no bullets. We stood up and walked across the tarmac,
Yeah.
and it was. And her supporters will say, "Well, she was just remembered wrong or something." That is such a load of BS.
You'd remember.
If
yeah.
you get shots going over your head, you remember it.
Right. Yeah.
It is not something you have a difficulty
Yeah.
recalling. You know, you
I
might.
think there might have been people shooting at me. I can't remember. Yeah.
I've had
I'm
people
not sure.
shoot by me. I do not remember it exactly.
Yeah.
I was in a canoe with Dad, and there was some kids shooting at the 22s at a sand pit, but they started shooting apparently at targets in the water, and so we could hear bullets going. Bing,
Oh, really? Yeah.
bing, right by the canoe.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, it wasn't smart. Dad screamed, said bad words. Dad used colorful. He was a Marine. The only language they know is colorful. Okay, so fish. What else we got? Fishing game. Taking game animals with bait. I don't know why that's debated every 2 years. Relative to season for hunting with crossbows. Oh, this is one that actually is cool, and I'm glad we ought to pass on that one. I don't know why somebody voted against it. That's judiciary expanding the Good Samaritan bill.
Yes. Jen supports this.
Well, no, it's not what you're thinking.
Oh, it's something different.
It's after a major catastrophe like Katrina or whatever, architects are routinely volunteer to go in and say, that house is safe, that house is safe, that house is unsafe.
Right.
And they've only got a few minutes to get in and out.
Right. Make a quick
Because
assessment.
they're trying to find out if people can return to their homes or not, and whether it's safe or not to do so, or businesses is often the case. And the problem is some of them don't work for a big company that's contracted to do so. They're just volunteering their time, and they want the same protections as, say, a firefighter that went in there to help somebody out, or an EMT or whatever. If they go in there and make a mistake, you know, the law should protect them, because
Right.
they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Right.
And their license as an architect is in jeopardy
Yeah.
if they can be held liable just because they made a quick decision. And especially for architecture, there's a lot of stuff you can't see, you know, behind the walls, or there might have been damage that somebody didn't see, and then the building collapses on,
Sure.
you know, a room full of nuns or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I'm saying we should collapse things on nuns. I'm not
No.
advocating.
No. You don't want to. You want to be on record that you don't advocate
No,
buildings
Just to
collapsing on
clarify.
nuns. Yeah.
clarifying, right.
Yes. Yes.
We've got 3 minutes. What else do you want? You want to say anything? How do you like being in Cornerstone? That's
really-
pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I'm really enjoying the position, learning a lot.
You got your cards yet?
I don't.
You don't have
I'm
cards.
so new. I don't have business cards yet.
Wow.
They are being printed.
They are being printed.
They are being printed
Are they going to be
as
cool?
we speak. They are. I saw the proofs, and
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Are they going to be like the plastic ones that like have holograms?
Not that cool.
Not that cool.
Not that
I don't
cool.
think I've ever seen one of those.
No, we should invent that.
Made
You
up.
Invent
Made
stuff.
that up.
Gary's an
Made up.
inventor.
Holograph
Yeah.
business cards.
Yes.
Yeah.
With
No,
lasers that shoot
but
out.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Go all the way with it, Gary.
I know.
You go
I
big,
know.
you know.
Holograms and
Go big or
lasers.
go home.
I should reorder my business cards now that I
Right.
have all these good ideas
Yeah, I
from
know.
you.
Lasers.
Lasers.
Lasers are always
Yes.
good.
Yes.
I don't know. That might not be so friendly.
Yeah,
Lasers?
no, lasers are always friendly.
Lasers are always friendly
Green lasers are friendly.
Green
It's red
lasers.
ones that are
Red lasers.
intimidating.
or more
Yeah,
intimidating.
yeah. Green's kind of Irish and
Yes.
right. Sorry.
It's okay.
Continue.
That's good.
Continue.
continue. Man, how do I follow up lasers coming out of business
No,
cards?
you can't.
Hard to follow
Yeah,
that,
it really is hard. But no, I'm really thankful for this position. It's been a lot of fun so far. I'm really excited to have a job where I fully 100% support the platform. There's no compromise in the issues and in the job, so that's really exciting. Cornerstone is the organization I've been following for a long time since I first started and started in politics and interested. So it's really neat to be working for them now.
I'll tell you, as a legislator, it's really helpful to have people like you, Anne Marie Banfeld.
She's fantastic.
She's
Been
an
wonderful
awesome
to get
lady.
to know
I got to
her.
get her back on the show.
She would
'cause
love to come and talk to you.
She's such a really cool lady. Just because there's so much this is this is a complete list of what we're going to do in the next couple of days. There's no way any legislator
Yeah.
can be aware of all
It's
that's
a
going
lot.
on. And
It's a lot.
a group like Cornerstone, I think I agree with you guys 90% of the time. And having people like that as eyes and ears on what's going on in other committees, and because the thing is, you could have a bill that sounds really nice, legislation to help children and help children reach their potential, and then I talk to you and says, oh yeah, they're planning on teaching the kids communism, and they
Yeah.
have a communist socialist weekend in Russia, and they learn the beauty of communism, or I don't
You can hide a lot in
You can
bills.
hide-
You
if-
can hide a lot.
you can hide
in
a
the
ton
language.
of stuff in a bill,
But,
and if you word it correctly in the blurb, it sounds, oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
I think I'll vote for that twice.
Yes. Ooh,
Right.
Can you?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No.
That's too bad.
No. Well, you can if you're really smart, because you
Right.
can go around and press other people's
Press other
buttons.
people's
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It's interesting what you see sitting in the gallery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I always keep an eye and see who's pressing what buttons.
You didn't throw any you never get tempted to throw airplanes, paper airplanes, or
No.
call roll calls from the balcony.
Maybe that was something that was very intriguing the first time I was there. I'm like, what is this roll call? What is that? That would be fun sometime. But
Yes.
I have
as long as you
restrained
don't
myself.
get caught.
Yes.
Yes. Because people yell roll call, and it's really hard to tell actually where it comes from.
Yeah.
So you could actually do it from the balcony.
You could imitate someone else's voice even.
Yeah.
Who said that? Who said that? Is that seconded? 10 people get up. You're all set. Be awesome. But anyway, Sarah, thank you very much. Thank you for what you're doing. And I'm glad she's my constituent.
Oh, yes. She's
Did I
aware,
say that?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Well, I've heard as much.
yeah. So,
That was very smart on your move. Yes.
and yeah, that's why I had her on the show. That's one vote I might get.
There you go. You might.
I might.
Hopefully. Yes.
I might.
We'll
Don't
see.
presume anything.
We'll see.
We'll
It's
see.
going to be a hard-earned
Don't
vote.
take your constituents for granted.
No, you cannot take your constituents for granted. Sarah, thank you very much, and
You're welcome.
keep up the good fight.
Great.
And
Thank you
Matt,
for having me.
I love you. You never change.
I
We'll
might
see you
get a
next
haircut
week.
soon, but